Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway 3, the trilogy, takes place this weekend in the co-main event of UFC 276, Adesanya versus Cannonier, and I can't wait for this featherweight championship bout. In my opinion, this is the people's main event this weekend. I am way more interested in this title fight than the main event of Adesanya versus Cannonier. I understand that Adesanya versus Cannonier is a very big title fight. It's Israel Adesanya defending his belt. The middleweight world championship is on the line. However, it does not compare to the importance of this matchup. Alexander Volkanovski, Max Holloway, the trilogy, 5 rounds in the featherweight division for all the marbles. I can't wait for this matchup. I really can't wait for this matchup, and I'm really looking forward to it. I've been looking forward to this one for a very, very long time, and it's finally here. Fingers crossed, everything goes to plan, no one misses weight, and we get the fight this weekend, because this one is to determine, in my opinion, the greatest featherweight of all time in the UFC. I know some people say that Aldo is still in the conversation. I would say that as well. I count WEC defenses and WEC title fights in the conversation for UFC history. I know you shouldn't really do that, but they are technically the lower weight classes of the UFC back then when the WEC did exist. However, Joe Rogan is going to call the winner of this fight in the octagon, in their octagon interview, the greatest featherweight of all time, like he always does for basically any champion that racks together a couple of title defenses in their division, ignoring the champions of old. But this time, I'm not going to disagree with him. I think the winner of this one, it's such a big matchup. This is the most interesting matchup since Aldo versus McGregor in the featherweight division, and I think it's going to perform even better because, you know, I highly doubt someone's going out early here in 10 seconds and we're not really going to know who the real better fighter is, or we're not really going to get a read on what improvements each guy has made. They've had 2 fights together. They've spent 50 minutes in the octagon fighting each other so far, and they're about to do another 25 minutes. This is amazing. I know normally you don't do trilogies if a guy has already lost to someone twice, but Max Holloway has earned his shot again. He's beat 2 guys, Calvin Kattar. You could even give him the title shot after that performance because it was so amazing. Then he went to war with Yair Rodriguez, and that was a great fight as well. He has earned his title shot, and enough people incorrectly believe that he won that rematch as well over Volkanovski, which I don't agree with. I believe that Volk won that rematch and won the first fight. I mean, they posted the first fight on YouTube, and all of the comments were like, hang on a second. Why have I been seeing that that Holloway won this first fight? Why have everyone in the comments was like, hang on, how can anyone actually believe that Holloway won that first fight? Because Alexander Volkanovski schooled Holloway and genuinely had an argument for 50-45 in that first matchup. But the rematch was way closer, and that tells me that Holloway made adjustments that worked in the rematch to make it a way closer fight than it was the first time. Maybe he was too comfortable as champion, and now he's sort of lit a fire under himself since that first loss, and he started to improve his game and get his desire back, and him as a contender is a way more dangerous fighter than him as a comfortable champion, you know what I'm saying? He's a bit more hungry than he was before, and I believe this is going to be a great matchup. But Alexander Volkanovski, in his last few fights, I think he's improved so much, and I think his boxing's improved massively, and that's where Holloway succeeds in matchups. His boxing is good. Sure, he gets hit a lot, but his combinations are great. He can go to the body with his hands. He's mixed up some other stuff as well recently to improve on that other stuff, like kicking game. I think he's got a lot better at kicking. He's throwing some flying knees. He's throwing some elbows, some head kicks and stuff like this. He caught Volkanovski with a head kick in round 2 of their rematch that they had. Knocked him down to 1 knee and won the round because of it, but I feel as though Volkanovski has improved on the fundamentals, and he is so much newer to MMA. I know he's the older guy, and Holloway, I believe, is like 30 or 29. Like, he's still got a long time to go in his career, but he's been in MMA for way longer than Volkanovski. And Volkanovski, you could tell at some point, just before the Aldo fight maybe, he really started to take his career seriously. For the Mendes fight as well. Once you get a certain amount of money fighting, and the idea of becoming a world champion and a dominant world champion as well becomes more of a reality, you can start funding your fight camps, getting the recovery that you need, getting the nutritionist that you need as well to help with your weight cut and make that a bit of a better situation for you. And I feel as though Alexander Volkanovski is performing at his peak right now, and I think he's going to beat Holloway in this trilogy. I just don't see a logical argument to pick Holloway to win this one. I understand Holloway made the second fight look closer than the first one. If you're following trends, maybe Holloway's more improved. But after Volk's last performance against a Korean Zombie, I feel like Holloway would have gone to war with Zombie for a few rounds and then started to take over and beat him up in rounds 4 and 5 and maybe get rocked in rounds 1 and 2 and come back. And Volk really did make the Korean Zombie look like an untrained sacrifice. Like, he made the Korean Zombie look like how TJ Dillashaw should have made Joe Soto look. Joe Soto coming in, I believe, from Bellator against TJ Dillashaw on 1 day's notice. And he actually had a decent fight against Dillashaw, but Dillashaw put him away in the later rounds with a head kick KO and something like that. But the Korean Zombie is a mainstay of the top 5. He was coming off of a win over Dan Ige, where he looked amazing and showed great grappling and improvements there and showed a bit more of a diverse skill set that we haven't really seen from him recently. He was beating Yair Rodriguez the entire fight long. I know Yair took that one on short notice, but he was saying in the build-up that he had been prepared to step in if anything happened and take the matchup for the UFC, because at the times he really wasn't in their good books whatsoever about the whole Zabit situation. So he wanted to step up and get back in their good books, and he was saying in the build-up that he's been training, he's prepared to go 5 rounds, and he's looking to make it happen. And the Korean Zombie was kind of schooling him in the stand-up department until the very end when he got hit with that inverted elbow out of nowhere. And I feel as though to see Volkanovski do that to the Korean Zombie, I just can't get over how good that was. And fair play, he may never have a performance that level ever again. And I do believe this isn't going to be a blowout performance for Volk. I originally thought that maybe Volk was going to get a KO because Holloway takes so much damage in his wins concussively that it's really worrying if you're a Holloway fan. I know a lot of people like to see Holloway go to war. I used to love seeing Holloway go to war and have these fun scraps. But recently I've started to really hate it. As I'm a Holloway fan, I wouldn't even mind Holloway winning this one. I feel like Volk's gonna win. It's the more logical argument. He's the better fighter in my opinion. But I'm a really big Holloway fan. I have been for a very long time. What's not to love about a Holloway fight? He brings it every time. But in the Yair fight, I was enjoying it. And then after the fight was done, instead of being like, wow, what an amazing fight, I can't wait to see Holloway fight again, I was thinking to myself, he's going to have so much brain damage. He's going to have so much CTE. He's already kind of got a lot of it now. He's going to really be down bad after his fighting career is over. He needs to stop having these wars every single fight. And if you're a true Holloway fan, like I am, you shouldn't be wanting him to go to those wars. Like, I feel as though we need a clinical Holloway. I think he knows that as well. I think he's going to try and be a little bit more cautious in this matchup, not wade forwards as much. I think he's going to play the point fighting game. But I think Volkanovski's just better at him better than him at it. And I think he's going to school him similar to the first fight. I think it's going to be competitive. Every round is going to be close. But I think Holloway is going to lose this matchup. And Volk's going to win 49-46 on every scorecard. Maybe Holloway will have a decent 5th round. But I think Volk has massively improved his boxing. And if I look at the pair of them fight, I can see that Holloway is adding in new moves. I can see that. I can't see that he's improving the moves that he already had. You know what I'm saying? I can see that he's adding in an elbow. He's adding in a head kick that we never normally saw from him. He did throw spinning back kicks to the body and stuff like that now and again. He did it against Frankie Edgar a lot. It's something he likes to do against a shorter, stockier opponent. So maybe we'll see more of them in this fight, but Volkanovski is improving on the things that I already thought he was perfect at. The jab, the right hand, the leg kicks, the fundamental things that I thought Volkanovski was the best in the world at. He's improving on them. The jab against the Korean Zombie, and even against Ortega, like, people like to make it out. Listen, Ortega fight was really fun. Round 3 was really good. Ortega had him in 2 submission attempts, hit him with a punch as he grabbed the leg, ended up getting him on the ground, went for a guillotine, had it in really tight. Volkanovski escaped because that's how much of a savage he is. He also had Volkanovski in a triangle as well, and Volkanovski escaped because that's how much of a savage he is, and then rained down shots on Ortega at the end of the 3rd round. And Ortega also landed 1 good punch in round 5 as well, that people seem to think won him round 5. No idea how. The judges even gave Ortega round 5. He was getting tripled before that last flurry at the end of round 5 that Volkanovski took. Where Volk was just looking up at the clock, like just jabbing and moving, keeping his chin up, sort of like trying to dodge shots and make Ortega look silly. He got caught with a couple of good punches. Volk was schooling Ortega for the entire fight. He really was. And I know Holloway did Ortega dirty as well, but I think Volk fought a better version of Ortega, a much more improved version of Ortega. I think Korean Zombie and Yair are similar styles and levels of opponent. Yair looked like he upped his game massively, I get it, but Korean Zombie still schooled him in that fight that they had against each other, where it was majority of the time on the feet with each other. Like, you can't deny that. So I think they both kind of sit at that same level. Maybe not now, since Volk did that damage to the Korean Zombie, and the Korean Zombie's a certain age, and maybe now he's going to start a little bit of a downward spiral. But Yair Rodriguez is a young guy. Of course he's going to make those improvements. He hasn't taken as much damage as the Korean Zombie has in his career, so he's going to make those more stark improvements moving forward. But I think at the time that Holloway and Volk fought them, they were at a similar level, and Volk looked way better. And Holloway, I would have loved to have seen him address those leg kicks in the Yair Rodriguez fight, but he didn't, man. He kept taking those leg kicks over and over and over again. I feel like he dealt with them in the Volk rematch better than he did against Yair Rodriguez. He just kept taking the leg kicks over and over again, and he had to start grappling Yair Rodriguez in rounds 3 and 4. He doesn't have that option against Volk. He just doesn't. So if he starts getting hit with those leg kicks, you aren't taking down Volk and keeping him down for a round so you can recover your legs, and then round 5 you're good to go again. And he even lost round 5 as well, by the way. So I feel like where he had to resort to takedowns on Yair Rodriguez, he doesn't have that option here, and he knows he doesn't have that option. And I feel as though Volk's just going to pick him apart, because let's not forget this as well. Holloway only made that second fight close with the knockdowns. That's a big deal and a big part of the fight, and, you know, it's a huge thing. I'm not saying remove the knockdowns and, you know, but if you're relying on Holloway to knock someone down in order to win a fight multiple times, Holloway's going to win this round and these rounds that he needs to win because he's going to knock Volk down. That's a really unreliable betting strategy, in my opinion. He had no knockdowns before that second Volk fight since the Aldo first fight, where he knocked him down with like a 1-2, repeat 1-2 combo and then put Aldo down. He's not really a knockdown type of guy. And I just see Volk being a little bit better at distance management in his last few fights. Way better striking defense. He barely got hit clean against Ortega and the Korean Zombie, whereas before maybe he would have got hit by a few more shots from those types of guys. I think you need to be short and powerful to beat Volk. I think Josh Emmett is a bad matchup for him. Chad Mendes was a bad matchup for him. I just don't see a tall and rangy Holloway with a reach disadvantage being able to land on Volk enough to knock him down. Volk was winning those first 2 rounds before Holloway knocked him down. He was. Volk was outlanding Holloway. I believe he still outlanded him in those rounds, even with the knockdowns included. And, like, that's just not reliable to me. I'd love Holloway to win. I like Holloway. It'd be cool to have him as champ, and then they do the quadrilogy, and that'd give Emmett a chance to build his name even more against another contender. Maybe do Emmett versus Arnold Allen. They both don't really have the name value to have a big title fight, but if they fight each other in a main event, then they might have the name value if they have a good performance, and then it'll be more anticipated, but I just feel like Holloway ain't improving as much, especially in his last fight against Yair, taking those leg kicks and resorting to takedowns. I think Volk's going to be too quick for him, and Volk mixes it up so much better now as well. In the first Holloway fight, he was just throwing empty leg kicks at Holloway. Inside leg kick, outside leg kick, move, outside leg kick, inside leg kick. Now what we saw against the Korean Zombie, jab, sting the head back, inside leg kick on the way out, and he's dipping backwards and moving. And then jab, 2, dip out, leg kick, move out again. Like, he's just... That version of Volk can't be beaten. And even if he achieves 90% of the guy who showed up against a Korean Zombie in that fight, he beats Holloway, in my opinion. I think he's going to beat him 49-46. Holloway's going to have a decent 5th round. The fans are going to say, yeah, I can see Volk winning, but man, if it was like an extra few rounds, Holloway wins. Holloway truly unfinishable. If it's an undefeated fight to the distance and there's no time limit, Holloway wins every fight. And they're going to have some excuse for why Holloway lost. But I think it's pretty justifiable to say that Volk's going to win. And his grappling has improved. On top of everything, his takedowns massively improved. He was on the ground with Ortega, escaping submissions, beating him up. In round 4, people don't talk about round 4. He was on the ground with Ortega, escaped a Das, was passing into half guard, getting into side control, landing shots, back into half guard, elbows on Brian Ortega. Fair play, it was a beaten up Ortega, but still, to have that experience in the cage of going through those motions and beating a guy up on the ground in round 4, which could have been a 10-8 as well, but not quite, because he didn't quite do enough ground and pound for a 10-8 round, but he still did a lot. The takedowns he got against the Korean Zombie has got great takedown defense, and he was able to work his way back up at times. But like, there were times where Volk would do that sort of like, that little trip that he does. I can't quite remember the name of it. Itari grip or something like that. Like, there's a certain name for it that I can't quite remember. And someone actually mentioned it in the comments of my full card prediction, but I don't even remember what it is. It's like a weird grip that Zabit goes for, and I feel like that's going to be such a big thing in this Holloway fight, because Holloway sits so heavy on that lead leg, and I feel like he's going to get hit by that. It's called an Osotogari grip. No. It's called an Osotogari trip that Zabit uses. That trip where he goes for the hand over the throat, chucks him backwards as he sweeps the lead leg out underneath them and skips forward. I think Volk's going to be utilizing that. I don't think he's going to be shooting double legs and single legs on Holloway. If he does, he'll just be using it to set up punches on the break or elbows on the break like he did in the first fight. But I feel as though Volk's got this one, man. I think he has. Tough for Holloway, but also another factor that I can include. This is a long breakdown, but this is the type of fight that needs it. Holloway pulled out of their scheduled trilogy in March with an injury. He said he'd be ready in April, May. It's not a good sign, man. Volk took no damage against the Korean Zombie. Holloway took a lot of damage against Cater and Yair Rodriguez. You may say Cater landed like 100 and something significant strikes on him, and big shots as well. Huge shots on Max Holloway. Holloway landed 400 on Cater, so it looked like such a massive disparity, but Ortega didn't do much damage to Volk other than the submission attempts. No real concussive damage. He didn't rock him. He caught his kick and punched him, which is why Volk went down. He's not like he got knocked down and rocked. And in the Korean Zombie fight, Volk took, 3 clean punches to the face? This is a fresh Volk. No injuries. An active Volk as well. Holloway fought in November. Volk fought in March in front of a big crowd. His last 2 fights have been in front of massive crowds. Holloway fought in front of like a few in Calvin Cater, and then he fought in the Apex against Yair Rodriguez. He's going to be back in front of a massive sold-out crowd. Like, there's so many factors here that I'll include here at the end, outside of their fighting skill, that favour Volk. Holloway's recovering from an injury and a war with Yair. Volk's keeping the ball rolling after a flawless performance against the Korean Zombie. I reckon he gets it done. Plus, Holloway's weight cut's tough. Volk doesn't seem too bad on the scales. Holloway's weight cut has always been tough, and I'm wondering if eventually it's going to start catching up as well. We'll see how it goes. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye. Volk, 49-46, wins the first 4 rounds. Toodle pip.